Commander Dahlia Reyes pressed her face against the porthole of the Artemis 7 space station, watching Earth's moon with a mixture of awe and terror. What had begun 3 days ago as hairline fractures visible only through the most powerful telescopes had become a jagged chasm stretching across nearly a quarter of the lunar surface. The crack glowed with an eerie blue-white light that pulsed in regular intervals, like a cosmic heartbeat. "It's getting brighter," reported Dr. Sarah Chun, the mission's energiologist, her voice tight with barely contained excitement. "The electromagnetic readings are off the charts. Whatever's inside there, it's been dormant for a very long time." Dahlia turned from the porthole to face her team assembled in the station's main briefing room. Besides Dr. Chun, there was Lieutenant Marcus Webb, their military liaison and demolitions expert, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's linguist and archaeologist, and Chief Engineer Pavel Volkov, whose technical expertise would be essential for whatever they found inside. "Preliminary scans suggest the moon is hollow," Dahlia announced, her words hanging in the air like a challenge to everything humanity thought it knew about their celestial neighbor. "Not partially hollow. Completely hollow, with an internal structure that appears artificial." Dr. Tanaka leaned forward, her dark eyes reflecting the same hunger for discovery that Dahlia felt burning in her own chest. "The implications are staggering. If this is some kind of ancient spacecraft, it predates human civilization by potentially millions of years." "The question is," interrupted Lieutenant Webb, ever pragmatist, "why is it waking up now? What triggered this activation after so long?" Before anyone could respond, the station's communication array crackled to life. The voice of Mission Control filled the room, urgent and strained. "Artemis 7, this is Houston. We're detecting a massive energy surge from the lunar surface. The moon has begun transmitting." Dahlia felt her heart skip a beat. "Transmitting what, Houston?" "Unknown, Commander. It's not in any Earth language or code we've ever seen. The signal is incredibly powerful, strong enough to reach the edge of our solar system and beyond. We need you to prepare for immediate descent to the lunar surface. You're our only assets close enough to investigate before whatever's down there completes its transmission sequence." The team exchanged glances, each seeing their own mixture of fear and exhilaration mirrored in the other's faces. This was the moment they'd trained for, though none of them had imagined it would involve first contact with an ancient alien intelligence. "Roger, Houston. Artemis 7 crew preparing for lunar descent. ETA to surface in 6 hours. As the communication channel closed, Dahlia looked out at the moon again. The crack had widened further, and now she could see geometric patterns of light emanating from within. Clearly artificial, undeniably alien. Whatever lay dormant in Earth's closest neighbor was awakening, and humanity was about to meet its makers. The lunar module Cousteau descended through the thin wisps of atmosphere that had begun leaking from the moon's interior, carrying with it the metallic scent of ancient technologies and something else, something organic that made Dr. Chen's instruments go wild with readings of complex hydrocarbons and amino acid chains. "I'm seeing atmospheric composition that shouldn't be possible," Chen reported. Her voice filtered to the comm system as she monitored the external sensors. "There are a trace amount of oxygen, nitrogen, and water vapor. It's like the moon has been slowly releasing a contained atmosphere." Dahlia piloted the module with steady hands, though her heart raced as a crack in the lunar surface grew larger in their viewport. What had appeared as a simple fissure from the space station was revealed to be an enormous opening, easily wide enough to accommodate several city blocks. The edges of the crack were perfectly smooth, as if the lunar surface had been designed to open like a flower. "Commander," Dr. Tanaka called from her workstation, "I'm detecting patterns in the light emissions. They're definitely artificial, possibly some kind of language or navigation system." Lieutenant Webb checked his weapon systems for the third time in 10 minutes. "Whatever we're about to encounter down there, it's been dormant for longer than human civilization has existed. There's no telling what kind of automated defenses might still be active. Pavel, what's our status on the emergency beacon?" Dahlia asked their engineer. "Fully operational, Commander. If something goes wrong down there, Earth will know about it within minutes." As they descended into the crack, the Cousteau's floodlights illuminated walls that were clearly not natural rock. The surface was smooth, almost mirror-like. composed of material that seemed to shift between metallic and crystalline properties. Geometric patterns were etched into the walls, growing more complex the deeper they went. "Incredible," whispered Dr. Chun. "The construction technology here is unlike anything we've ever seen. It's as if the entire internal structure was grown rather than built." The module's altimeter showed they had descended nearly 50 kilometers into the moon when the walls suddenly opened into a vast chamber. Dahlia's breath caught in her throat as their lights revealed the scope of what lay before them. The hollow interior of the moon stretched out in all directions, easily large enough to contain several major cities. But what captured their attention wasn't the size. It was the city that was there. Graceful spires reached up toward the chamber's center, connected by bridges that seemed to defy gravity. The architecture was organic, flowing like frozen water or crystallized music. And everywhere, surfaces pulsed with the same blue-white light they had observed from space. "My God," Pavel breathed, "it's beautiful. And it's responding to us," Dr. Tanaka added urgently. "The light patterns are changing, becoming more active. I think our presence is triggering some kind of automated systems." Dahlia maneuvered the module toward what appeared to be a landing platform extending from one of the larger structures. As they approached, the platform began to glow more brightly, and mechanical arms emerged from its surface to guide them to a precise landing position. "Well," she said as the module touched down with barely a whisper, "I'd say we're expected." The atmospheric readings inside the moon's hollow interior were even more astounding than those they detected during descent. Dr. Chen's instruments showed a breathable atmosphere, not just oxygen and nitrogen, but perfectly balanced for human physiology. "This is impossible," Chen muttered, double-checking her readings for the fourth time. "The atmospheric composition is too perfect. It's as if it was designed for us." Lieutenant Webb secured the landing area, while the rest of the team prepared for EVA. Despite the apparently breathable atmosphere, protocol demanded they maintain environmental suits until they could be certain of their safety. "Temperature is holding steady at 22 degrees Celsius, Pavel reported. "Humidity at 45%. Gravity feels slightly less than Earth normal, but within acceptable parameters." Dahlia was the first to step onto the alien platform, her boots making contact with surface that felt solid yet seemed to pulse with inner energy. The moment her feet touched the platform, the entire structure around them came alive. Lights raced along the spires and bridges in complex patterns, and a low harmonic resonance filled the air. Not quite music, but not mere noise either. It was as if the city itself was singing in welcome. "Commander," Dr. Tanaka called out, her voice tight with excitement. "The light patterns, they're not random. There's definitely a linguistic component here. It's like the city is trying to communicate with us." As they made their way toward the nearest structure, Dr. Chen's geological training helped her identify the construction methods. "The walls aren't built in any conventional sense," she explained. "They appear to have been grown from some kind of programmable matter. The entire city might be a single, massive organism." The entrance to the structure they approached was a graceful archway that dilated open as they drew near, like an iris responding to light. Beyond lay corridors that curved and branched in patterns that seemed natural yet purposeful. "The architecture follows organic principles," Dr. Tanaka observed. "Fractal geometry, golden ratio proportions. It's as if the builders were trying to create a space that felt alive." Lieutenant Webb kept his weapon ready, though he wasn't sure what good it would do against technology this advanced. "I don't like how everything responds to us. It's like we're being herded somewhere specific." As if in response to his words, the lights along the corridor walls began to pulse in a specific rhythm, leading them deeper into the structure. Dahlia made the command decision to follow. "Whatever built this place wanted to be found eventually," she said. "The question is why." The corridor led them to a vast circular chamber at the heart of the structure. The walls were covered in what could only be described as a holographic display. Images of star systems, planetary bodies, and what appeared to be genetic sequences scrolled past in an endless stream of information. At the center of the chamber stood a raised dais with what appeared to be a control interface built from the same crystalline material as the walls. But it was what surrounded the dais that made them all freeze in their tracks. Scattered around the chamber floor were the remains of the moon's builders. The beings had been tall and graceful, with elongated limbs and skulls that suggested intelligence far beyond human norm. Their bodies showed signs of advanced biotechnology, what might have been cybernetic implants grown rather than manufactured, seamlessly integrated with their organic forms. "They've been dead for a long time," Dr. Chin said softly, kneeling beside one of the remains. "Thousands of years, maybe longer, but the preservation is remarkable. It's as if the city itself is maintaining them." Dr. Tanaka was already at the holographic displays. Her trained eye trying to make sense of the alien information systems. "Commander, you need to see this. These aren't just star charts. They're biological surveys. Detailed genetic information about thousands of species across hundreds of worlds." She manipulated controls that seemed to respond to her touch intuitively, bringing up specific displays. "Look at this sequence. I recognize some of these genetic markers. They're from Earth species, but not just current ones. This shows evolutionary development across millions of years." The implications hit Dahlia like a physical blow. They were monitoring Earth's evolution, guiding it. "More than that," Dr. Tanaka said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Based on these patterns, I think they were responsible for it. Earth wasn't just observed, it was seeded, carefully cultivated over millions of years to produce exactly the kind of life we see today." Lieutenant Webb lowered his weapon, the magnitude of the discovery overwhelming his tactical concerns. "You're saying with their creation that humanity exists because these beings wanted us to—" Before anyone could answer, the chamber suddenly filled with a new sound, a deep, thrumming alert that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The holographic displays shifted, showing what appeared to be a countdown sequence in alien numerals. "Pavel," Dahlia called urgently. "What's happening?" Their engineer was frantically working with a handheld scanner, trying to interpret the energy patterns around them. "Commander, the entire structure is increasing its power output. Whatever signal the moon has been transmitting to deep space, it's about to get much stronger." Dr. Chin looked up from her examination of the alien remains, her face pale behind her visor. "Commander, I found something else. These beings, they didn't die naturally. Their bodies show signs of combat damage. They were fighting something before they died." As if summoned by her words, new lights began activating throughout the chamber. Red ones, harsh and warning. Sections of the walls that had appeared solid began to dilate open, revealing mechanical systems that had been hidden for millennia. And from those openings came the sound of something awakening, something that had been waiting in the darkness for thousands of years for intruders to arrive. The first guardian that emerged from the walls was unlike anything in human experience. It moved with the fluid grace of a jellyfish, but possessed the predatory focus of a shark. Its translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, and where it touched the crystalline floor, the material seemed to respond and reshape itself. Automated defense systems, Lieutenant Webb identified, raising his weapon though he doubted it would be effective against something that appeared to be part organic, part energy, and part programmable matter. The Guardian paused in its emergence, seeming to study the human intruders with sensory organs that operated beyond the visible spectrum. Dr. Tanaka watched its light patterns carefully, recognizing the same linguistic structures they'd observed in the city's communications. "It's trying to communicate," she said urgently. "The bioluminescent displays, they're following the same grammatical patterns as the city's welcome sequence." But whatever the Guardian was attempting to convey, its message was interrupted by the emergence of more Guardians from other wall cavities. These moved with less grace but more obvious hostile intent, their forms more mechanical than organic, bristling with appendages that crackled with energy. "Definitely mixed signals here," Pavel observed, backing toward the chamber's entrance. "Some want to talk, others want to eliminate the threat." Dahlia's mind raced as she tried to process the situation. The dead aliens around them had fought these same Guardians. A civil war between those who wanted to protect their secrets and those who believed in sharing them. And now humanity had stumbled into the middle of an ancient conflict that was far from resolved. "Dr. Tanaka, can you interface with control system?" she called out as the more aggressive Guardians began to advance. "I'm trying, but it's reading our biometrics and finding us insufficient," Tanaka replied, her hands dancing over controls that shifted and changed in response to her touch. The system was designed for the original builders. We're like children trying to operate a nuclear reactor. Lieutenant Webb opened fire on the nearest aggressive Guardian. His weapon's energy discharge causing the creature to recoil, but not causing any apparent damage. "Commander, we need to fall back. We're not equipped for this kind of engagement." But retreat was no longer an option. The chamber's entrance had sealed itself, trapping them inside with the awakening defense systems. More Guardians emerged from the walls, and the chamber filled with an increasingly complex symphony of warning sounds and visual alerts. "The countdown is accelerating," Pavel reported urgently. "Whatever signal this place is sending into deep space, it's approaching full power. And based on these energy readings, full power is going to be visible across half the galaxy." Dr. Chun, still kneeling by the alien remains, made a discovery that changed everything. "Commander, this being here, it's not completely dead. There are still minimal neural patterns active in the cybernetic components." She looked up at Dahlia with desperate hope in her eyes. "If I can establish a connection, we might be able to understand what's really happening here." "Do it," Dahlia ordered, then turned to address the advancing Guardians. She raised her hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peaceful intent. "We're not here to harm anything. We're trying to understand." The more organic Guardian that had emerged first seemed to respond to her words, its bioluminescent patterns shifting to what Dr. Tanaka interpreted as curiosity rather than hostility. But the mechanical ones continued their advance, weapon systems charged with energy that made the air itself crackle. Dr. Chen's attempt to interface with the ancient alien cybernetic remains suddenly flooded her mind with images and sensations from across millions of years. She cried out as a connection formed, her consciousness briefly merging with that of a being that had helped shape life throughout the galaxy. "I can see it," she gasped. "The purpose of this place. Earth wasn't just seeded randomly. It was designed as a garden world, a place where life could evolve naturally while being gently guided toward intelligence and empathy. But something went wrong." The images flowing through her mind showed the final days of the moon civilization. A faction had decided that their seeded worlds had developed enough to be contacted, to be brought into a galactic community of intelligence. But another faction believed that premature contact would destroy the careful evolutionary work of millions of years. "The war wasn't about whether to contact Earth," Chin continued, her voice strained from the neural interface. "It was about when. And now the signal that's being transmitted, it's a call home, to their people, wherever they are in the galaxy. Some of these Guardians are trying to stop it, and others are trying to ensure it succeeds." The countdown reached its final phase, and the chamber's energy output spiked dramatically. Through the moon's surface above them, humanity's first intentional message to an ancient galactic civilization was racing toward the stars. And in deep space, something began to answer. The response from deep space came faster than light-speed physics should have allowed, suggesting technology that bent the fundamental rules of the universe. Dr. Tanaka's linguistic protocols went wild as alien signals flooded the moon's communication rays. Not just one response, but dozens, each carrying the distinctive harmonics of different civilizations. "They're all out there," she breathed, her instruments overwhelmed by the complexity of the incoming transmissions. An entire galactic community, and they're all responding to the signal from Earth's moon. The more aggressive Guardians suddenly ceased their advance, their weapons powering down as new programming apparently took priority. The organic Guardian that had shown curiosity toward the humans began projecting holographic displays showing the incoming starships, vessels of impossible beauty and clearly alien design, each representing a different member species of what appeared to be a vast interstellar alliance. Through her connection with the ancient aliens' consciousness, Dr. Chin experienced their history directly. "They're coming home," she whispered. "The beings who built this place, they're part of something much larger. A civilization that spanned the galaxy, dedicated to nurturing intelligence wherever it can develop naturally." Lieutenant Webb watched the tactical displays with a soldier's eye for threat assessment. How long until they arrive? Pavel's calculations were grim. Based on the response time and the quantum signatures of their propulsion systems, the first ships could be here within days, maybe hours. Dahlia felt the weight of decision settling on her shoulders like a physical burden. Humanity stood at a crossroads that would define their species for all time. Accept contact with galactic civilization that had been guiding their development for millions of years, or try to shut down the system and maintain their isolation. "Commander," Dr. Chen called urgently, her voice strained from maintaining the neural interface with the alien consciousness. "I'm seeing more. The seeding program. Earth wasn't the only world they cultivated. There are hundreds of others across the galaxy, each at different stages of development. Some have already joined the galactic community. Others are still being carefully guided toward intelligence." The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't alone, wasn't unique, but was part of a vast experiment in fostering consciousness throughout the universe. And now they face a moment their creators had always intended: first contact and integration into a galactic society. But the memories flowing through Dr. Chen's mind also showed the dangers. Some seeded worlds had been contacted too early and had destroyed themselves in the shock of learning they weren't alone. Others had rejected contact entirely and isolated themselves from the galactic community, forever cutting themselves off from the knowledge and wisdom of 1,000 civilizations. "The Guardians had attacked us," Chen continued, her body trembling from the strain of the neural connection. "They're programmed to prevent contact if the seeded species isn't ready. They assess psychological and technological development, cultural stability, capacity for peaceful coexistence. And we're borderline." Dr. Tanaka looked up from her linguistic analysis of the incoming signals. "Some of the civilizations responding to our signal are expressing concern. They're worried about humanity's history of conflict, our tendency toward tribal thinking. They're debating whether contact should proceed. Lieutenant Webb's military training kicked in, so we're being evaluated, like a job interview for joining galactic civilization." "More than that," Dr. Chen replied. "If we fail the evaluation, the Guardians have protocols to sterilize the seeded world and start over. It's happened before, to worlds that develop intelligence but prove too aggressive or unstable to safely contact." The chamber around them suddenly shifted, walls flowing like liquid to create a new configuration. The control interface at the center expanded, revealing options that hadn't been visible before. Dr. Tanaka found herself able to read the alien script as if it were her native language, a gift from the awakening systems that wanted to ensure clear communication. "I can shut it down," she announced, her hands hovering over controls that could terminate the transmission and send the approaching ships away. "The system is giving us a choice: contact or isolation. But for how long?" Dahlia asked. "If we shut it down now, when will humanity get another chance?" The answer came through Dr. Chen's connection to the ancient aliens' memories. "The evaluation window is roughly every 1,000 Earth years. If we reject contact now, we'd have to wait for the next assessment cycle. By then, the approaching ships will be long gone, and we'd have to prove our readiness to an entirely different generation of galactic civilization." The countdown that had been racing toward completion now held steady, waiting for human decision. The Guardians, both aggressive and peaceful, stood motionless, their programming suspended pending the choice that would determine Earth's future. Dahlia looked at her team, seeing her own conflicted thoughts reflected in their faces. Dr. Chun, still connected to millions of years of alien memory, understanding the vast scope of what they were being offered. Dr. Tanaka, overwhelmed by the linguistic richness of civilizations beyond imagination. Pavel, calculating the technological implications of contact with species that could travel faster than light. Lieutenant Webb, assessing the security implications of opening Earth to alien influence. "Commander," came the voice from Mission Control, crackling through communication systems that were barely functional in the moon's energy-saturated environment. "We're detecting massive objects approaching the outer solar system. Please advise on your status." Dahlia realized that the choice wasn't just hers to make. It belonged to all of humanity. But circumstances had placed her in the position of making it on behalf of her entire species. She thought about humanity's history, the wars and conflicts that might concern the galactic evaluators, but also the art and music and literature that showed their capacity for beauty, the scientific achievements that had brought them to Moon in the first place, and the cooperation that had made the space program possible despite national boundaries. "Dr. Chun," she asked quietly, In all those memories you're accessing, do any of the successfully contacted worlds regret joining the galactic community? The answer came immediately, filtered through millions of years of collective experience. None. Even the ones that struggle with the transition, that face challenges integrating with galactic society. None of them regret making contact, the knowledge gained, the problem solved through cooperation with other intelligences. It's transformed every world that's made this choice. But there was something else in the alien memories, something that made Dr. Chen's expression darken. Commander, there's something else. The reason this faction wanted to make contact now, despite our relative immaturity as a species, we're facing challenges that could destroy us within the next century. Climate change, resource depletion, the risk of technological catastrophe. Without guidance from the galactic community, the probability of human survival past 2100 is less than 30%. The weight of that revelation settled over the team like a shroud. This wasn't just about joining a galactic civilization. It was about survival. Dahlia's finger hovered over the control interface that would either confirm humanity's readiness for contact or shut down the system for another 1,000 years. Around her, the Guardians waited in perfect stillness, their programming suspended in deference to human choice. Commander, Lieutenant Webb said quietly, whatever you decide, we'll stand by it. But consider this. In all of human history, we've never backed down from exploring the unknown. Maybe that's exactly what makes us ready for this. Dr. Tanaka's linguistic protocols were still processing the incoming alien transmissions, and what she found there surprised her. Commander, they're not just evaluating us. They're hoping for us. Some of these civilizations have been waiting specifically for Earth to reach this point. There's something special about our development path that they value. Through a neural connection, Dr. Chen accessed more specific memories about Earth's role in the galactic seeding program. We're one of the oldest active experiments, she explained. Most seeded worlds are guided more directly, with regular intervention to ensure proper development. But Earth was allowed to evolve more naturally, with minimal interference. That's made us unique. Our independence, our creativity, our unpredictability. These are rare traits in the galactic community. The revelation shifted something in Dahlia's thinking. They weren't just being invited to join an existing civilization. They were being asked to contribute something distinctive to it. Pavel, she asked their engineer, the technology we're seeing here, could humanity adapt to it safely? Pavel had been studying the moon systems throughout their exploration, his engineer's mind automatically analyzing construction principles and energy management techniques. It's incredibly advanced, but it follows logical principles. And more importantly, it seems designed to be learnable, as if the builders wanted others to eventually understand and use their technology. Dr. Chen's connection to the alien consciousness suddenly intensified, flooding her with urgent new information. Commander, there's something approaching that's not part of the galactic community. The signals we've been sending out, they haven't just attracted our allies. The chamber's displays shifted to show deep space sensors detecting objects moving toward the solar system at incredible speeds. But these weren't the graceful vessels of the Galactic Alliance. These were ships built for war, carrying energy signatures that radiated hostile intent. Hostile contact has always been a risk, Dr. Chen continued, the alien memories providing context for what they were seeing. The galaxy isn't entirely peaceful. There are aggressive species that seek to conquer or destroy emerging civilizations before they can join the galactic community and receive its protection. The timing couldn't be coincidental. The hostile ships had apparently been monitoring galactic communication frequencies, waiting for signals that would reveal the location of new civilizations ready for contact. Earth's first intentional broadcast of galaxy had painted a target on their world. Lieutenant Webb's military training immediately grasped the implications. How long until they arrive? Roughly the same time as our allies, Dr. Chen replied. Maybe sooner. The Guardians around them suddenly reactivated, their forms shifting into more obviously military configurations. The chamber itself began to transform, revealing weapon systems and defensive capabilities that had been hidden in the moon's structure. The ancient builders had faced the same threat and had prepared for it. Commander, Dr. Tanaka called urgently, The incoming Galactic Alliance ships are transmitting detailed tactical information. They want to coordinate Earth's defense, but they need us to confirm our participation in the galactic community first. Neutral worlds don't receive military protection under their treaties. The choice had become even more stark. Accept contact and gain powerful allies against an immediate hostile threat, or maintain isolation and face invasion alone with technology thousands of years behind what was approaching. But there was another factor to consider. Through Dr. Chen's connection, they learned that the moon's defensive systems were formidable but required conscious activation by a recognized member of the galactic community. The ancient aliens had died defending Earth before that activation could be completed. If the hostile forces had arrived a few thousand years ago, they would have found a defenseless world. The invasion fleet that's approaching, Dr. Chen said, her voice strained from processing a flood of alien memories. They're the same ones that forced our builders to die here defending Earth. They've been waiting for us to reveal ourselves, and now they're coming to finish what they started. Dahlia realized that the choice had already been made, not by her, but by circumstances beyond human control. Earth needed the galactic community's protection, whether humanity was ready for it or not. The only question was whether they would face the coming threat as allies or as refugees. She placed her hand on the control interface, feeling the alien technology respond to her bioelectric field. The system seemed to recognize her intent before she could fully form it, offering her one final display of what acceptance would mean. Images flowed through the interface directly into her mind. Cities transformed by clean energy technology, diseases eliminated by advanced medicine, the stars themselves becoming accessible through faster-than-light travel. But also challenges, cultural integration with alien civilizations, the loss of some human traditions that were incompatible with galactic law, the responsibility of becoming part of something vast and ancient beyond human comprehension. "Commander," Pavel said quietly, "the hostile fleet just accelerated. They know we're choosing." Dahlia looked one last time at her team, seeing understanding and acceptance in their faces. They had come to the moon as explorers and found themselves at the pivot point of human history. "For all of humanity," she said, and pressed the activation control. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The moon's entire structure came alive with power that dwarfed anything in human experience. Defensive systems that had been dormant for millennia awakened with a harmonic resonance that could be felt in Earth's gravity well. The signal to the galactic community strengthened dramatically, now carrying not just a call for contact, but a request for immediate military assistance. And across the galaxy, the first ships of humanity's new allies began to accelerate toward Earth, racing against time and hostile forces to determine whether the galaxy's youngest civilization would survive its first day of membership in the galactic community. The transformation of the moon's interior happened faster than human perception could follow. What had been a hollow chamber filled with ancient ruins became the command center of a military installation that rivaled anything in science fiction. Holographic displays materialized in midair, showing tactical information from across the solar system in real time. Dr. Chun, still connected to the alien consciousness, found herself serving as interpreter between human understanding and galactic military protocols. "The defense systems are incredible," she reported, her voice filled with awe. "The moon isn't just a ship, it's a fortress. The entire structure can reconfigure itself for different types of combat." Lieutenant Webb studied the tactical displays with professional interest. "What are we looking at in terms of enemy forces?" The answer came through displays that showed the approaching hostile fleet in detail. 67 vessels of various sizes, led by massive dreadnoughts that could level entire continents. Their technology was roughly equivalent to that of the Galactic Alliance, but their ships were built purely for destruction rather than exploration or diplomacy. "They're called the Devourers," Dr. Chen translated from the alien memories. "They've been a threat to emerging civilizations for millions of years. They consume the resources of conquered worlds and use them to build more ships, more weapons. They're essentially a self-replicating plague of destruction." Dr. Tanaka, monitoring the incoming communications from the Galactic Alliance, had more encouraging news. "Our allies are responding faster than predicted. 43 ships from 12 different civilizations are converging on Earth. They're bringing defensive technology that can be deployed in our atmosphere and orbital space. Pavel was studying the technical specifications that the alien systems were providing about their new alliance partners. Commander, the technology transfer possibilities are extraordinary. Just the energy generation systems alone could solve every environmental problem Earth faces. But Dahlia's attention was focused on the strategic situation. How long until first engagement? The answer came from the moon's tactical systems directly, translated through Dr. Chen's neural interface. Hostile forces will reach the outer solar system in 14 hours. Our allies will arrive approximately 6 hours later. We'll have to hold defensive positions alone for at least 6 hours. It was then that the true nature of their situation became clear. The moon's defensive systems were powerful, but they had been designed to protect Earth as part of a coordinated galactic defense network. Operating alone, they could inflict significant damage on the approaching fleet, but probably couldn't stop all of them. Commander, Dr. Chen said urgently, her connection to the alien consciousness providing new information. There's another option. The moon's main weapon system. It's designed to create artificial stellar phenomena, solar flares, gravitational anomalies, even controlled supernovae. But activating it requires conscious control by a member species, and the energy requirements are... She paused, accessing more technical data. It would drain our sun's energy output for several months. Earth would experience an extended winter, possibly lasting years, but it would eliminate the entire hostile fleet. The choice was stark. Accept climate catastrophe on Earth to ensure the destruction of the invasion fleet, or fight a conventional defensive battle with no guarantee of success. Lieutenant Webb was already thinking through the tactical implications. What kind of casualties are we looking at for an extended winter scenario? Dr. Chen's answer was sobering. With immediate implementation of galactic agricultural technology and medical assistance, human casualties could be minimized to perhaps 10 to 15% of the population. Without galactic assistance, it would be closer to 80%. And if the invasion succeeds? Dahlia asked, total human extinction. The Devourers don't take prisoners or slaves. They consume civilizations completely. The communications array suddenly activated with incoming signals from Earth. Mission Control was attempting to establish contact, their voices desperate and confused as they tried to understand what was happening to their moon. Artemis 7, please respond. We're detecting massive energy signatures and what appear to be multiple objects approaching the solar system. We need immediate status report. Dahlia realized that she needed to expand the decision-making process beyond her team. Humanity deserved to understand what was happening and have input into the choice between definite catastrophe and probable extinction. Houston, this is Commander Reyes. Patch me through to the President, the UN Security Council, and every head of state you can reach. What I'm about to tell you will change everything. Over the next several hours, as the hostile fleet continued its approach, Dahlia found herself briefing world leaders on humanity's first contact with galactic civilization and the immediate threat they all faced. The revelation that Earth's moon was actually an ancient alien fortress, that humanity had been genetically guided for millions of years, and that they were about to be invaded by hostile aliens was met with exactly the mixture of disbelief, panic, and desperate hope she had expected. The debate was intense but brief. When faced with the choice between certain climate catastrophe with galactic assistance or probable extinction without it, the decision was unanimous. Humanity would activate the moon's ultimate weapon system and trust their new galactic allies to help them survive the consequences. Dr. Chen's neural connection to the alien consciousness deepened as she prepared to help activate systems that had been built before human civilization existed. I can feel the knowledge flowing through me, she said, her voice taking on harmonics that sounded almost alien. Millions of years of experience with weapons that could reshape star systems. I understand now why the galactic community is so careful about who they share this technology with. The activation sequence began with harmonic resonances that could be felt throughout the Earth-Moon system. On Earth's surface, sensitive individuals reported hearing music that seemed to come from inside their own minds. The moon's surface began to glow more brightly as ancient mechanisms awakened and prepared to reach across space to touch their own sun. And in the approaching hostile fleet, detection systems began to register energy signatures that made their commanders realize they were not approaching a helpless primitive world, but a fully activated galactic fortress. The first phase of humanity's galactic war was about to begin. The moment the moon's stellar manipulation system activated, Earth's sun responded like a musical instrument being played by a master musician. Solar flares erupted in precise patterns, their energy carefully directed by gravitational lenses that the ancient aliens had positioned throughout the solar system millions of years ago. From the moon's command center, Dahlia watched displays that showed the sun's fury being shaped and focused into a weapon of unprecedented power. Dr. Chun, her consciousness now deeply merged with the alien systems, served as the interface between human intention and galactic technology. "The solar cascade is building," Chin reported, her voice carrying harmonics that no human throat should have been able to produce. "The hostile fleet is attempting evasive maneuvers, but their ships are too large and too close together. Impact in 37 minutes. Lieutenant Webb monitored Earth's defensive preparations through communication links that somehow remained functional despite the massive electromagnetic interference from the lunar systems. All major population centers are implementing emergency protocols. People are moving to underground shelters and reinforced structures." Dr. Tanaka continued translating communications from their approaching galactic allies. "The Alliance fleet is expressing amazement at our defensive capabilities. Apparently, most newly contacted worlds don't have access to stellar manipulation technology. They're upgrading our threat assessment from primitive but promising to strategically significant." Pavel was studying the technical readouts of what they were about to unleash. "Commander, the energy levels we're generating are beyond anything in human experience. We're essentially turning our sun into a controlled supernova pulse. The gravitational effects alone are going to be felt throughout the solar system." The first sign that the weapon was reaching full power came when Earth's aurora began appearing at tropical latitudes, painting the sky in colors that had never been seen before. The planet's magnetic field was being reshaped by the moon's gravitational manipulation systems, creating a protective shell that would shield Earth from the worst effects of what was coming. "Hostile fleet is beginning to realize the scope of the threat," Dr. Chin announced, her access to the alien systems providing real-time tactical information. "They're attempting to scatter their formation, but the solar flare will expand to encompass their entire fleet trajectory. On Earth's surface, the phenomenon was visible as a new star appearing in the sky, their sun burning brighter than it had in millions of years. The carefully controlled stellar eruption was racing across space at nearly the speed of light, carrying enough energy to sterilize entire solar systems. But the Devourers hadn't conquered dozens of civilizations without learning how to fight. Their response to the incoming solar weapon was to accelerate their own assault, pushing their ships beyond safe operating parameters in an attempt to reach Earth before the stellar flare could destroy them. "They're coming in faster than predicted," Lieutenant Webb reported, his tactical training helping him interpret the alien displays. "Some of their ships are going to reach Earth's orbital space before the solar flare arrives." The moon systems immediately adapted, revealing secondary defensive capabilities that had remained hidden until now. The surface of the moon began to reconfigure itself, opening launch bays that released swarms of defensive drones that moved toward Earth's orbit like clouds of metallic insects. Dr. Tanaka's linguistic systems were overwhelmed as the moon began coordinating with automated defense stations throughout the solar system. "There are defensive installations everywhere," she said in amazement. "Asteroid mining stations that are actually weapon platforms, space debris that's really camouflaged sentinel systems. The entire solar system has been fortified." Through her neural link, Dr. Chin experienced the memories of the last time this defensive network had been activated. The builders who died here, they weren't the first galactic civilization to use the system. Earth has been defended before, multiple times across millions of years. We're not just joining the galactic community. We're inheriting a battleground that's been fought over for geological ages. The first engagement came when the fastest Devourer scout ships reached the orbit of Mars. They met defensive drones that had been hidden in the asteroid belt for millennia, and the battle was joined with weapons that manipulated space-time itself. The energy discharges were visible from Earth as brief new stars appearing and disappearing in the night sky. "Our allies are getting their first look at how we fight," Dr. Chin reported. "They're impressed. Most member civilizations avoid direct combat when possible. The way we're coordinating both ancient and improvised offensive systems is apparently unique. But the main Devourer fleet was still approaching, and their response to the defensive network was to accelerate beyond all rational limits. Their ships began to glow with the heat of atmospheric entry as they pushed their propulsion systems to the breaking point. They're willing to destroy themselves to reach Earth, Lieutenant Webb observed grimly. This isn't conquest, it's mutual annihilation. The solar flare reached the outer solar system exactly on schedule, its effects visible as a wall of energy that consumed everything in its path. The slower Devourer ships simply vanished, their matter converted to pure energy by forces that rivaled stellar collapse. But the fastest ships, the ones that had sacrificed everything for speed, managed to stay ahead of the expanding wave of destruction. 12 Devourer vessels survived the solar weapon, and they were now racing toward Earth with the fury of a dying star following behind them. Time to impact with Earth orbital space. For hours, Dr. Chen announced. Our galactic allies arrive in 2 hours. We need to hold defensive positions until then. The moon's transformation accelerated, revealing its true nature as one of the galaxy's most sophisticated military installations. Weapon systems that could crack planets deployed from hidden bays, and the lunar surface itself began to move, positioning the moon between Earth and the incoming threat. The 12 surviving Devourer ships that broke through the solar flare were scarred and damaged, but they moved with the desperate fury of predators that knew they face extinction. Their approach to Earth was marked by the systematic destruction of every human satellite and space station in their path, not out of military necessity, but from pure malice. From the moon's command center, Dahlia coordinated a defense unlike anything in human history. The lunar surface had completely reconfigured itself into a massive weapon platform, its elegant spires and bridges replaced by cannon arrays that could target objects moving at significant fractions of light speed. First engagement in 30 seconds, Dr. Chen announced, her consciousness now so deeply integrated with the alien systems that she spoke with the authority of millions of years of tactical experience. The Devourers are attempting to use Earth's atmosphere as a shield, forcing us to fire through the planet's protective envelope. Lieutenant Webb studied the tactical situation with grim, professional interest. They're trying to make us choose between letting them land and risking damage to Earth's biosphere with our own weapons. The moon's response was elegant and terrifying. Instead of firing directly through Earth's atmosphere, the lunar weapons created temporary spatial distortions that allowed their energy beams to bend around the planet, striking the Devourer's ships from unexpected angles. 2 of the hostile vessels were destroyed immediately, their matter converted to exotic particles that harmlessly disperse in space. But the remaining 10 ships adapted quickly, using technology that seemed to violate basic physics. They began phase-shifting in and out of normal space-time, making themselves difficult targets while continuing their assault on Earth's orbital infrastructure. They're jamming our targeting systems, Pavel reported from his engineering station. Whatever technology they're using, it's interfering with the moon's sensors. Dr. Tanaka, monitoring communications from the approaching Galactic Alliance fleet, had encouraging news. Our allies are transmitting updated tactical protocols. They fought the Devourers before and know how to counter their phase-shifting technology. The solution came through Dr. Chen's neural interface with remarkable simplicity. Instead of trying to target the Devourer ships directly, the moon's weapons began firing at empty space, creating energy patterns that would force the phase-shifting vessels back into normal space-time, where they could be destroyed. 3 more Devourer ships fell to this tactic, but the remaining 7 had reached Earth's upper atmosphere and were beginning their descent toward the surface. Their intention became clear as they ignored population centers and military installations, instead targeting the planet's major ecological systems. They're not trying to conquer Earth, Dr. Chen realized with horror. They're trying to sterilize it. If they can't have the planet, they'll make sure no one else can either. The first Devourer ship to reach the surface landed in the Amazon rainforest and immediately began deploying technology that turned living matter into industrial material for building more weapons. Trees that had stood for centuries were converted into combat drones within minutes, and the conversion process was spreading outward in an ever-expanding circle. We have to stop them before they reach critical mass, Lieutenant Webb said urgently. If they can convert enough biomass, they'll be able to build a new fleet right here on Earth. The The moon's response was to reconfigure its weapons for planetary surface bombardment, but the targeting solution was complicated by the need to avoid causing more damage to Earth's biosphere than the Devourers themselves. It was Dr. Tanaka who provided the key insight. Commander, the Galactic Alliance protocols include something called surgical planetary cleansing. They've developed weapons that can target specific types of matter without affecting anything else. The technology transfer happened through Dr. Chen's neural link, flooding the moon's systems with weapon configurations that have been perfected over millions of years of galactic warfare. The lunar cannons reconfigured themselves to fire beams that would affect only matter that had been converted by Devourer technology, leaving natural Earth life completely unharmed. The precision bombardment began immediately. Beams of energy lanced down from the moon to Earth's surface, seeking out and destroying converted biomass, while leaving the original forest untouched. The effect was eerily beautiful. Patches of artificial matter simply vanished, leaving behind healthy rainforests that showed no sign of ever having been threatened. But the Devourers adapted again, beginning to convert human-made materials instead of natural biomass. Cities became their targets as concrete and steel were transformed into combat constructs that rose from urban centers like metallic cancer. They're learning our tactics faster than we can counter them, Pavel observed with growing concern. Each engagement teaches them more about how to fight us. The solution came from an unexpected source. On Earth's surface, human military forces began coordinating with the moon's targeting systems, providing ground truth information about Devourer positions and movements. For the first time in the battle, human and galactic technology worked together seamlessly. The results were devastating for the Devourer forces. Unable to adapt to the combined intelligence of human tactical thinking and galactic technological superiority, their remaining ships began falling to precisely targeted lunar bombardment. But victory came at a cost. The energy expenditure required for the surgical planetary bombardment was enormous, and the moon's power systems were beginning to show strain. Dr. Chun, still serving as the interface between human consciousness and alien technology, was paying an even higher price. "I can feel myself changing," she whispered during a brief lull in the combat. "The neural interface is rewriting my brain patterns. I'm becoming more like them, more like the Builders." Before anyone could respond, the Galactic Alliance fleet finally arrived. The ships that appeared in Earth orbital space were unlike anything in human imagination. Each vessel was unique, reflecting the aesthetic preferences and technological capabilities of its builders. Some moved like living creatures, others flowed like liquid metal, and a few seemed to exist partially outside normal space-time. "Welcome to Galactic Community," came the first official communication from humanity's new allies, transmitted in perfect English that somehow conveyed harmonics of a dozen different alien languages. "We apologize for the delay. Shall we finish cleaning up this mess?" The battle's final phase lasted only minutes. The combined firepower of 43 ships from 12 different civilizations made short work of the remaining Devourer forces. But more important than the military victory was what came after. As the smoke cleared and the immediate threat ended, humanity found itself face to face with their first extraterrestrial visitors. Representatives from each allied species requested permission to land on Earth and begin the formal process of welcoming humanity into galactic civilization. Standing in the moon's command center, surrounded by technology that was reshaping human understanding of what was possible, Dahlia realized that the hardest part of their journey was just beginning. First contact was over, but learning to live as part of something vast and ancient and beautiful was a challenge that would define human civilization for generations to come. The first galactic embassy on Earth was established in the ruins of what had been New York City's United Nations building, destroyed during the Devourer assault and rebuilt using technology that seemed to grow buildings from pure thought. The new structure shifted and flowed like living architecture, able to accommodate the wildly different environmental needs of the dozen species that now maintain permanent diplomatic missions on Earth. Dahlia found herself appointed as humanity's first galactic liaison, a position that required her to spend equal time on Earth and on the Moon, which had been officially designated as humanity's contribution to the Galactic Defense Network. The role was overwhelming, but it came with compensations that still took her breath away. Standing in the embassy's central rotunda, She watched delegations from across the galaxy conduct business with the fluid grace of species that had been cooperating for millions of years. The ethereal collective communicated through controlled electromagnetic fields that painted thoughts directly in the air. The stone singers, beings that resembled living crystal formations, shared information through harmonic resonances that made the building itself sing with mathematical beauty. Dr. Chen had returned to Earth, but was forever changed by her neural interface with the ancient alien consciousness. She served as humanity's primary interpreter of galactic technology, her mind now capable of understanding concepts that had no equivalent in human language. The process had cost her some of her humanity, but had given her something extraordinary in return. The terraforming protocols for repairing the solar weapon damage are proceeding ahead of schedule, she reported to Dahlia during their weekly briefing. Her voice carried harmonics that made her sound more like the aliens than like the scientists who had descended into the moon weeks earlier. Earth's climate should stabilize within 18 months rather than predicted 3 years. Dr. Tanaka had become humanity's first xenolinguist, studying communication methods that range from biochemical exchange to quantum entanglement. Her work was revealing that language itself was just one small facet of intelligence, and that consciousness could take forms that human philosophy had never imagined. We're learning that intelligence isn't rare in the galaxy, she explained to Dahlia. What's rare is the specific type of intelligence that humans possess. Our unpredictability, our emotional complexity, our tendency to find creative solutions to impossible problems. These are unusual traits that most galactic civilizations value highly. Lieutenant Webb had been recruited by the Galactic Defense Force, joining military units that protected emerging civilizations from threats like the Devourers. His reports from training missions to other worlds painted a picture of a galaxy where peaceful exploration was the norm, but where vigilance against hostile forces was constant and necessary. Pavel had perhaps the most exciting assignment of all. He was part of the engineering teams adapting galactic technology for human use, working to develop hybrid systems that combine the best of both technological approaches. His preliminary reports suggested that within a generation, humanity would have access to faster-than-light travel, unlimited clean energy, and medical technology that could extend human lifespan indefinitely. But it was a cultural exchange that proved most transformative. The embassy hosted concerts where human musicians collaborated with beings who created music from gravitational waves and electromagnetic spectra. Art exhibitions featured works that existed in dimensions human eyes couldn't perceive, experienced through technology that expanded human sensory capabilities. Earth's children, it turned out, adapted to galactic civilization faster than adults. Schools worldwide began offering courses in xenobiology and multidimensional mathematics, taught by AI systems that could simplify concepts from across the galaxy for young human minds. A generation was growing up that would think of interstellar travel as routine and of alien intelligence as simply another form of life. The moon itself had become a pilgrimage site for species across the galaxy. The fact that an ancient galactic installation had activated itself to protect a newly contacted world was apparently unprecedented in galactic history. Delegations came to study the technology and to pay respects to the builders who had died defending Earth millions of years ago. During one of her regular visits to the Lunar Command Center, Dahlia found herself alone with the holographic displays that still showed streams of galactic communications. The city that had once been dead and hollow now pulsed with life as representatives from dozens of species worked to integrate human knowledge into the galactic database. "Do you ever regret the choice we made?" she asked Dr. Chun, who was reviewing technical specifications for a new type of faster-than-light communication system. Chun considered the question carefully, her enhanced cognitive abilities allowing her to process multiple perspectives simultaneously. "The human part of me sometimes mourns what we've lost, the sense of being unique in the universe, the simple certainties of a single-world existence. But the part of me that has touched galactic consciousness knows what we've gained is infinitely more valuable." She gestured toward displays that showed other worlds in the process of being contacted, other species taking their first steps into galactic civilization. "We're part of something beautiful now, Dahlia, something that spanned the galaxy and reaches back millions of years. Every discovery, every work of art, every act of kindness by any species anywhere becomes part of all of us." The weight of that truth was both overwhelming and inspiring. Humanity had lost its isolation, but had gained connection to a community of intelligence that stretched across the galaxy. The price had been the end of human uniqueness, but the reward was knowledge and companionship beyond imagination. As Dahlia looked out at the Earth from the moon's observation deck, she could see the lights of cities rebuilt with galactic technology, ships moving between the planets carrying human and alien crews, and the aurora-like effects of the stellar repair systems still working to heal the damage from their first battle. The world below was no longer purely human, but it was still home. And for the first time in human history, home was part of something vast and wonderful that connected every living thing under every star. Humanity had awakened from its planetary childhood and joined the eternal conversation between intelligence and the cosmos. The future stretched ahead, bright with possibilities that no single species could have imagined alone. The hollow moon had given them the galaxy, and the galaxy had given them forever. Commander Dahlia Reyes stood on the observation deck of the starship Cousteau, watching Earth recede into the distance as they departed for the Kepler 442 system. After 10 years as humanity's first galactic liaison, she was finally taking her first assignment as captain of a joint exploration vessel, with a crew that included members from 7 different species. Earth was no longer the small blue marble of her childhood. Orbital habitats ringed the planet like jewels, and the moon blazed with the lights of the galactic facility that had become one of the most important strategic installations in the local galaxy. The solar system bustled with traffic as ships from dozens of worlds came and went on missions of exploration, trade, and cultural exchange. The transition hadn't been without challenges. Some humans had struggled with the revelation that their species was essentially a biological experiment, carefully guided for millions of years toward intelligence and empathy. Others had difficulty accepting that Earth was no longer the center of their universe, but merely one of thousands of worlds hosting intelligent life. But the benefits had been extraordinary. Climate change had been reversed using galactic atmospheric processing technology. Disease and aging were becoming historical curiosities as human medicine advanced by millennia in a single decade. Most importantly, humanity had found its place in a community of intelligence that valued their unique perspective on existence. Dr. Chun, now more alien than human in her thinking, but still recognizably the scientist who had first touched the ancient consciousness, served as Earth's primary ambassador to the Galactic Council. Her report suggested that humanity's integration into galactic civilization was proceeding faster than any previous species, partly because of their natural adaptability, and partly because of their eagerness to explore and learn. Dr. Tanaka had established the first intergalactic university on Luna, where students from across the galaxy came to study the unique human approach to creative problem-solving. Her linguistic work had revealed that human languages contain conceptual structures that were remarkably useful for bridging communication gaps between species that had evolved in completely different environments. Lieutenant Webb had risen to command rank in the Galactic Defense Force and was leading missions to protect newly contacted worlds from threats like the Devourers. His reports indicated that the hostile species were becoming increasingly desperate as more worlds joined the galactic community, making their strategy of preemptive destruction less viable. Pavel had achieved something thought impossible. He had successfully reverse-engineered galactic technology to create hybrid systems that performed better than either human or alien technology alone. His innovations were being adopted throughout the galaxy, making him one of the most celebrated engineers in galactic history. As the Cousteau engaged its faster-than-light drive for the journey to Kepler 442, Dahlia reflected on how much had changed since that day when the moon cracked open to reveal humanity's true origins. They were no longer alone in the universe, no longer unique in their intelligence, no longer the masters of their own destiny. But they were part of something infinitely larger and more beautiful than anything they could have achieved alone. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humanity had finally earned their place among the stars. The hollow moon still orbited Earth, but was no longer a secret. It had become a symbol of humanity's membership in the galactic community, a reminder that even the most ancient and powerful civilizations had once been young species, taking their first tentative steps into the larger universe. And somewhere in the vast spiral of the Milky Way, other moons around other worlds are beginning to crack open, revealing the presence of civilizations ready to join the eternal conversation between intelligence and the cosmos. The universe was vast, But it was no longer empty, and humanity would never be alone again.